All right, everybody. Good morning. So I did a little recording with a friend of mine. Her name is Bethany Nixon, and she just started truck driving school about a week ago. She's in the process of getting her learner's permit so she can start with Swift Training School. So y'all take it easy and come along for the ride. Here's the show.
Well, so far, all we've done is gone over. I don't know if you guys can see that. Woo! Truck driving manual to get the CDL permit, and then we're gonna work the next couple of weeks on because the law here in Arizona, I don't know how it is elsewhere throughout the country, but in Arizona you have to have the permit for 2 weeks, consecutive 2 weeks before you can actually take the test to get the CDL license. Now you can
Okay.
get the permit
I didn't
before
know
you
that.
go to school, but still you have to have it 2 weeks before you can actually go get the license. So I mean, there's like a 2 week window. I'm supposed to go take that test on Monday, so we've been studying for about the past 3 days. I started school on, geez, what day? Wednesday. So I had 3 very early days. We'll have a following next, well, geez, however long of school I've left. That'll be early mornings for me. But yeah, that's about it so far. So we've gone over that and some basic truck stuff and learning how to do the logs. That's
Oh,
it so far.
how you liking the logbooks? Because that's kind of the trickiest part to get started with.
They're actually not too bad. They're fairly common sense for the most part. I think it's just hard because
Hmm.
ours are in black and white, whereas the normal ones they're in red, so it's easier to see your marks with the pens. Because ours is black and
Right.
white paper with a black pen, it's really hard to see.
Hmm.
But my dad's been a tour bus driver and school bus driver and kind of that type of bus driver for years. It was his hobby, so he was kind of on the side weekend thing. So he's always kind of showed me how to do his logbooks, and I've looked over his shoulder and that sort of thing. So it's kind of
Okay.
paid off a little bit. So, but they
Okay.
taught us a lot about it, and we spent several hours on it in class Monday. So,
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Uh, so what made you decide to pick the Swift Training School?
because it was local to where I was.
Okay, well that's a big deciding factor to be honest. Being near the training school.
Right. I didn't have to pay to travel anywhere. I didn't have to pay for a hotel. I didn't have to do any of that. Granted, probably if I'd gone with another company, they probably would have, but still, it was like, why fly somewhere that I'm not familiar with when, yeah, I was living in Las Vegas, but it's still only like a 5 hour drive to get to Phoenix. So, Las Vegas is closed right now anyway, so might as well just go home and do something productive while I'm here. And it's only like 25 minutes from my house. So,
Awesome. Especially with everything that's going on with the virus and stuff right now. At least you're still at home if they decide to pause class and you're not stuck in a hotel on the other side of the nation or something.
right. Exactly. Although if that had happened, I would imagine that they would probably just fly everybody home. Like, we can't do any more for you, so here's a plane ticket home. Like,
Well,
you have
yeah,
to do
but then
something
you're
really, really
exposed
bad
to,
to basically buy your
yeah,
own plane. So,
yeah. But then you'd be exposed to the virus again trying to get home in the
well,
airports and stuff.
true, true,
So, yeah.
true.
Okay. So, tell me about your facility and all that you have to train in.
It's actually a really nice facility. It's huge. So you go down. The first building that you come into is kind of there's like an area for there's a ribbon with Swift. I think they call it like a driver training entrance or something. So there's that on one part of the building, and then right next to it, kind of a disconnected part, we have like our clinic where they go to give you your physicals. And we happen to have it where the doctor wasn't there, so we actually got bused to the Concentra that was like miles up the street from us. But then around the backside, there's kind of another street that you have to go out the driveway and around the corner. And right there, then you can take the street and go all the way back to like the truck depot and the kind of the truck driver's lounge. And there's a little restaurant in it called the J Cafe, which is really cool. And then there's the actual like corporate offices because it's the corporate headquarters for Swift is here in Phoenix. Um, So the Jake Brake Hotel is kind of halfway back to where the actual academy is, and it's where all the trucks are parked and the flatbeds, and then the mechanic shop is just off of that, and we have a big like terminal where you can pull in and get gas and have your truck inspected and that kind of thing. And then you go further back, and you have the actual building where the classes are held, and then they have what's called the sorry, range, which is where you actually go and like drive the trucks around the range, and they have trailers attached to them, and they also have student driver on the side of them. You can practice backing in and out. You can practice driving around, kind of around the range. It's about a quarter mile range. And of course, you're only going like 5 miles an hour anyway, but something that big that would do damage if you hit something. But I mean, still it's only 5 miles an hour. But then we have a little like kind of little break room where we have a fridge where we can store stuff, and then we have vending machines and that kind of thing. So it's pretty cool. It's been a little bit of unorganized chaos for a while, but now that we've gotten past like medical and making sure that everybody has the right forms and that sort of thing, now things are a little bit better. But we're also the first week in, so
Right.
first week is kind of disorganized chaos, and so hopefully next week it'll be a little
Oh
bit
yeah.
better. But yeah, but then they actually
Everybody's
give us a
not
Swift
squared
training
away like
manual
they
too
was
the
in the
last day.
military. So
If that was even considered squared away.
right.
First couple of weeks of that is unorganized chaos too.
Oh yeah.
But it is what it is. But then we actually were given a Swift training manual, and that's back in the other room, but that has actual like the different pre and post trip parts on it. Excuse me. Has a breakdown of like the air brakes and the different systems that way, and then in the back has a bunch of different logs and stuff for us to practice on, which is really cool too. So.
Oh okay.
Yep, those
So
are
you're
fun.
taking your test this coming Monday, and
Monday.
when do you actually get out on the range to practice some maneuvers or something?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
This
Oh
coming
okay.
Wednesday. So we have 2 more classroom days, which I would imagine is probably just kind of the tail end of learning everything in the manual and probably going over some of the other
Mhm.
stuff that we need out of the um, CDL manual. And then we're actually out on the range in the trucks. We did a little bit with learning some of the different, like, what was that called? With the slack adjusters and stuff, how to check them, how you need to put, what you need to do to the truck to be able to check them. We actually literally crawled under the trailer and sat under the trailer while our instructor went around and got in and messed with the brakes. And of course, he tracked the wheel and stuff, but um, got
Yeah.
in, kind of messed with the brakes to show us this is how you check it. When it's this way, you can pull on it, and if it moves too much this way, then it needs to be adjusted. And then got back in, tightened up the brakes, and had one of the guys try pulling on it again, and it couldn't get it to move. So that was kind of fun. We spent probably about 3 or 4 hours outside, just kind of going through the truck. He showed us, he jumped in, put 5 of us in the truck. He jumped in, pulled it forward, backed it up, showed us how to kind of check the mirrors and what to look for when you're backing and pulling forward, and how you can do the little test to make sure that the trailer is actually attached to your truck, so you don't like pull out and oops, well, there goes the trailer. Like, as you're driving away and your trailer's
Right.
still behind you, it's now on the ground because, of course, he raised landing gear. But, he kind of showed us that.
Hmm.
So that was really cool. But it was just a lot to take in because it was a long day. And it was just like, oh my goodness, I'm tired. So we'll probably go over that again. But that was kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
So,
And I
and Swift
know
only
that.
uses, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Swift only uses 3 kinds of trucks. They either use a Kenworth, a Freightliner, or an International.
Oh, okay.
So I know they used to use Volvos at one point, but it sounds like now the 3 main ones they use are the Kenworth International and Freightliners. So
Okay. You get more room in the Freightliners. The uh, Kenworths are a little bit nicer, and the Internationals are kind of their economic trucks usually.
got it. Got
And
it.
Volvos are kind of
Ours
like
are
the
cool.
Cadillacs of trucks.
The
They get
what?
all the little bells and whistles, and they're supposed to be a little bit more comfortable.
Which ones?
The Volvos.
Volvos. Nice. Yeah. Well, and I'm told too that Volvo's kind of nice because it's literally like a plug and play. They can take like this hose off of Kenworth and this off of an International and this off of a off of a Freightliner and just kind of put them on the Volvo and they all worked. It's not one specific, like
Mm-hmm.
how you have to have the Kenworth engine versus, the Kenworth parts versus this versus that you can just kind of, oh, hey, I need this part. So I'm going to yoink this off of this broken truck and this off of this broken truck and just kind of put it in and go for it. It sounds like the other ones have to be actual specific Kenworth, International, and Freightliner parts that you can't kind of mix and match.
Yeah. But Volvos are supposed
But,
to be
I
more
mean, I'm not a
expensive, but I
mechanic.
guess yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I told him I don't care what brand it is. I just want a blue one.
Okay.
Because we have white
Yep.
ones, the typical white
Mm-hmm.
Freightliners that you see, and then we have
Mm-hmm.
blue ones that have the Swift logo on them. I said I don't care what brand. I don't care if it's 3 years old or 5 years old. I just want a blue one.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kind of looked at me strangely.
Are they training you on automatics or 10 speeds?
Automatics.
Oh, really? They're not going to train you on 10 speeds to start out?
They don't have any. It sounds like because they only keep a truck for about 3 years before they get new ones.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I got trained on a 10 speed myself, so.
Nice. Probably a smart idea to not train me on a 10 speed because the last time I tried to drive a stick shift, which was when my parents were teaching me to drive at 15 and 7 months or whatever it was when I had um my learner's permit, and my mom almost had to get a new clutch on her car
Gotcha. Well,
because needless to say, this
the
one does not do
clutches,
stick shift.
yeah. 10 speeds, they're a lot more forgiving. You can grind the living hell out of them and they're still good.
Right. Well, this was a little Saturn that was probably 10 years old at that point, so
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, let's not.
Okay. Well, that's good though that you're getting your training though. The only downside is that if you decide to
Right.
change companies in the future, you'll have to just be restricted to driving a automatic truck,
Right. Right.
which a lot of
Well, and I
bigger
mean that.
companies are just sticking with automatics anyway, just because it's
Right.
easier to keep people trained to drive them than it is training them how to drive a 10 speed.
Right. And I've also, and I could very well be wrong, but I have some mechanic friends that have actually said that it's easier to fix an automatic than it is to try and fix a manual, just because there's so much with the clutch, and if you don't calibrate it correctly, and if you don't do it, even on a car, not even just on a truck, but just sometimes even on a car, people that have manuals on cars, they said they're just harder to fix because you have to go in and you have to do the clutch and then you have to calibrate the clutch and you have to do this and you have this one system that's just the clutch system in and of itself. If you mess that up, then you can mess up a bunch of other systems in the car, and they're just like don't do it. So it
Right.
is what it is, I guess. But our
That's why
student trucks are
everything's
really
just
nifty.
going to
Go ahead.
everybody's just going to the automatics now. So
Right. And the student trucks are really cool because there's still a driver's seat and a passenger seat in the front, but instead of having the bunks in the back, they actually tore those out and put 3 seats with seat belts.
that's awesome.
So
I
that
know
then
if
what we
I
do
ever
is when we
talk my wife and son into going out, I'm gonna pull out uh, one of the side compartments there and put it in another seat so I can have my kid in the car seat probably while I'm
right,
driving.
right. Well, no, I mean it's really neat because when we actually take the trucks out on the road here, I think in 2 weeks, probably end of next week, maybe a week after, that there'll actually be an instructor and then there'll be 4 students.
Yeah. Okay.
So and then we'll kind of
I'm
take turns
comfortable than
driving it
just
and figuring
sitting on the
things
bed.
out. You what?
A lot more comfortable than everybody just sitting back there on the bed. Trust me.
Oh, I'm sure. And there's actual seatbelts, so if somebody does one of the, you're not all gonna fly through the windshield.
Right.
If somebody brakes too hard.
Because that will definitely happen. That will definitely happen.
Right. Right. But the other cool thing with Swift is originally I thought I was going to have to wait a year after being on the road in my own truck before I could bring my dog along with me on the road. It's actually once I'm in my own truck. So once I finish school and once I finish my mentor with finished being on the road with my mentor and I'm actually in my own truck, then I can bring him with me on the road.
That is awesome.
So the only caveat is he has to be less than 40 pounds. Breed doesn't matter, color doesn't matter. He just has to be he has to be 40 pounds or less.
Okay, that's awesome.
So
You don't have to have
it's
paperwork
like,
for him
okay,
or anything.
didn't sound like it. I mean, I
Awesome.
do. I have, his vet records, and he's also a registered emotional support animal for me. So I have both sets of that paperwork. But I mean, beyond that, and he's neutered, but I did that. He was, geez, 20 weeks, I think, when I did that. So however old they have to be when you can do that, I took care of that problem already. So.
Awesome. Very, very
Yep.
good. So you got anything you want to tell new drivers that are looking into getting their CDL on how to get it?
Um. Honestly, I would say just go through the class and let them do it because we have a few that walked in with theirs and they still had to sit through the class while the rest of us are getting ours and they were very, very bored because it's like they're basically rereading information that they may or may not already know. And so some of them knew it because there's one guy's been driving a truck for years and one that drove with another company for years. And so it's like they already know this information, so they're kind of bored. So I
Mm-hmm.
I would say honestly, just wait to get your permit with the school because ours, they gave us the training manuals. They're gonna bus us to and from the DMV. They'll sit there and wait on us, and so it's like you're gonna be hurry up and waiting a lot anyway. So might as well wait and just let them give you the information because then if you have any questions, you can actually ask right there and get an answer. So it's not this like, well, it's not
Okay.
in the book and I'm going to take the test and hope I get the answer. You can actually ask and get the answer right then and there. So
Okay. Any kind of special documentation you had to have to go to school for Swift, or how much did it cost you to get started in training?
Um, so it really depends because you and I are the lucky ones. Swift is extremely veteran friendly, like
Mm-hmm.
extremely veteran friendly. So normally, the it's going to sound like a lot, but let me give you the breakdown of it. So it's about a $6,000 program. However, you don't actually start paying on it until you get your own truck. And then the way that they do it is they deduct, I think it's like $80 from your check, but then they also pay in $40. So it's like they're actually only taking like $40 from you. And then once you get
Mm-hmm.
to the year, I think it's actually I can't remember if it's the 1 year or the 2 year mark. It's kind of confusing. Depending on how you do it, you can pay it off faster. I want to say it's the 1 year mark that by that point you've basically paid into it. So then it's just kind of like a student loan forgiveness. That's just kind of what it is with them. That after a
Gotcha.
year of working, they're like, well, you've basically paid it off, even though when you do the math, I think you've actually, because I think the way that they break it down is they take all those payments from you, and then there's one big last, like $1,800 payment that you pay all at once, and then you're basically done. But what's cool for
Gotcha.
us veterans is we actually don't have any payroll deductions once we're in our, so it's a year from the day that you get your own truck, or the day that you go solo.
Mm-hmm.
From that point on to 365 days or 366 days, that 366-day mark, they will not have taken any deductions from me up to that point. And then basically at that 366-day mark, I'm free and clear. I don't owe anything on the loan. There's not. They just basically forgive it at that point.
Okay. That's awesome.
So
So you don't have to
it
pay any
is
money up front to go to school with them.
correct. Correct. And then they even put you
Are
up in
they
a
paying you
hotel.
while you're in
So,
school?
not for the first 3 weeks. Once I get out on the road with my mentor, then I get about between 500 and 600 a week, give or take a little bit. They pay veterans a little bit more, so it sounds like I might be on the higher end, maybe like 550 or 650. But while you're the first 3 weeks of school, while you're quote unquote training, they don't. But once you get on the road, they do.
Oh, okay. Awesome. That's on the road with
So
your trainer.
correct. Or mentor,
Okay.
yeah, mentor trainer, whatever you want to call it. They call them mentors. Some people call them trainers. So
Okay. Yeah. Whichever company legal you want to go with. Everybody's got their own. So awesome. Well, thank you
everything they
so
use.
much
So
for
if
doing
it's
this with
general
me.
use of the trainer, yeah, no worries. No worries. We'll check in 2 weeks and see if everything is still copacetic. See where I'm feeling it at that
Right?
point.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll try to get it with you at least every 2 weeks, if not every week, if I can drag you away to talk to me about it. See if we can
Right.
get some steady videos from you.
Perhaps we'll have to see.
All righty. Well, thank y'all for watching. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. And if y'all have any questions for me, just take and email me. My information's in the description box. And y'all like, share, and subscribe. This is Trucker AJ and Bethany Nixon out. Thank you. If I can get the blender to pop up, we can cancel this recording button.